What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is Black Lightning Season 1, Episode 8, The Book of Revelation. So, I have 4 episodes to get through in this one review, so I'm going to have to kind of make each one quicker than usual. So I'm going to sort of bullet point what I want to go through. Just a couple of things that I did and didn't like, and then talk about some things and ideas I have for future. First of all, the main thing that I didn't like in this episode was just Jennifer. Why? All of a sudden, she has powers because the writers ran out of ideas. And that's pretty much it. You know, she has been just all over the map in this first season. At first, she seemed like she was just going to be the bratty kid that the parents have to deal with. Then it seemed like, oh, maybe she's going to be, she's going to be dealing with this. Does she go to college? She's got this boyfriend who then gets crippled. And then all of a sudden they start fighting with each other. Are they going to be like the relationship of the show that we got to focus on? What exactly is her story going to be? It felt like every episode was a different story. Whether it was her being political, her being a brat to her parents, her causing fights, her dealing with her boyfriend stuff. It was everywhere. It was all over the place. And now all of a sudden it's like, oh, she has lightning powers. Because we got to give her a point, and she hasn't had one all season. I mean, honestly, that's just how it feels to me. It feels like the writers had no idea what they wanted to do with her. They started off, telling a story with her and this guy that she was with, and then that got boring, so they switched to something else in the next episode, then that ran out of room, and so they went to... And now they're just like, you know what, screw it, let's just give her powers too, so that way we can tie it all together. It just feels lazy to me. It feels lazy that you're just going to make her, oh, she's got powers now, guys. And part of the problem that I do have with that is we find out in this episode the reason some of these people ended up with metahuman powers is because of this this vaccine that these people brought in, which is part of the interesting story. But if that's the case, it seemed like to me that Jefferson didn't get his powers until after he had his daughters. And part of me was wondering, well, how does Anissa end up having powers? Is it because of because Jefferson was born with powers and so she got them too, or did whatever affected Jefferson affect her as well? And so it seemed like, what's the connection going to be made? Now that we know that it was this vaccine, how do Anissa and Jennifer also get powers? Why was Anissa's why are the powers different for Anissa, and yet Jennifer gets the same exact powers as her dad? These little things that just don't really add up. Because now Jennifer has powers, and why did she get them late or earlier than Anissa did? Why are they the same as her dad instead of Anissa's powers? Which were different from her dad's? It just feels weird now. It feels like this isn't really all adding up. It feels like this is opening up a lot of plot holes. Maybe it'll explain it all, but I don't know. I feel like this is a lazy writing point. Yes, we got to give her powers too, because everyone needs to have powers, and now they got to deal with that as well. When already giving Anissa powers was enough, where I'm just like, okay, yeah, that could be interesting. Now it feels like it's too much. But on to, that was the one thing that really bothered me. The rest of it was pretty good. We learned more about Peter, why he's there. It turns out his name isn't actually Peter Gamby. It's, Peter Stradaus? I don't remember. I'll remember it later. But I do remember his first name is Peter. Sorry about the names. I'm terrible with them again. But we find out that he was actually brought here to the city to give this vaccine out. Apparently these people were working on trying to make them, I guess, calmer. I didn't really understand the explanation of what the experiment was supposed to do, but basically through that, metahumans were created, which I do find interesting because, if this is supposed to be in the same universe as Arrow and The Flash and Legends of Tomorrow, the metahumans in those shows were created by the reactor exploding. So now we're seeing in this one, which may actually be further away from those cities than we realize, in this show we see that apparently this vaccine was brought in by these people is what created the metahumans. And apparently somehow they were also able to make green light from it as well. Don't really know why they made it or how they made it, but yeah, so we find out more about his story though, and I like that, because one of the problems I have had in the past with this show is that they haven't really been doing a good job of telling us what his story is, why he is helping Lady Eve, why he's helping Jefferson as well. He seems to have like his fingers in everybody's pot, and it never really made sense why. Now we sort of get an idea. He didn't really want to be a part of this, but he knew to keep himself protected, he had to lie to everyone around him. You know, he had to convince the people he's working for, no, I'm not helping him, and he had to convince Jefferson, no, I'm not working with them, just to make sure that he stayed alive. And so it does weaken his character a little bit, whereas before I felt like, maybe he's kind of a double agent helping Jefferson while pretending to help them. But now it just feels like he's kind of a weasel. To keep himself alive, he pretended to help everyone around him. But, there's still that part of him where it's like he wanted to do what was right. And so he did give the information to Jefferson's father to write about. And that ended up what got him killed. So there are parts of it that I really do enjoy. I'm glad we know more about him now. But it also does sort of affect his character overall, and it weakens him a little bit, which I do feel like this could be part of his arc. He's weakened, but now he'll come back and be able to redeem himself in the end. So I hope that's where they're going with it, but we'll see. We also see more of Anissa being trained by her father, which I didn't enjoy well enough as well. They are giving her, once again, they are giving her a point to this season. She's not just the political activist who has to make all of these these political issues that the show wants to tackle. Oh, she's going to be the one we do it through. And in fact, there's even a point in the opening when he's training her. They're having like these hologram people show up. This one guy is there, and you can see he's wearing like a race. I think he might have been wearing a Confederate flag or something on his shirt, but it was a racist shirt. And so she smacks the ground and like causes him to pretty much start like vibrating all over, and then you can see him like falling over. And then Jefferson's like, he's not a threat. She's like, yeah, but his shirt. And he's like, just because you don't agree with him does not make him a threat. You can't go around just beating up everyone who doesn't match your beliefs. And I'm like, that's actually a good message. That is something that the show has not really been showing us. Mainly it's just been showing us that, everyone that's white is evil. They're all racist and they all hate black people. That's all it is. There are only a few good ones like Gamby out there who don't see color as an issue. But no, to have this message right here of you can't just go around beating up everyone who doesn't agree with you, that's the type of message that we need more of in this world. Just because you two don't agree with each other, that doesn't mean that you can't talk about it. It doesn't mean you have to go beat him up or be antagonistic toward him. So I don't know, I really like the fact that they brought that into it a little bit. It's one of the few messages where I'm just like, thank you for not being so overly like, we gotta stop this evil racist stuff. Because it just, when you go at it with that much aggression and hate, you're no better than the racists that are coming at black people with that much aggression and hate. So I don't know, I'm really glad that they showed that you can be civil. And that doesn't necessarily mean the other people are going to be, but that doesn't mean you need to stoop down to their level and meet them with that same aggression and hate. So thank goodness for one political message that wasn't completely just something I couldn't stomach. But yeah, overall, this episode, it gave us more of Peter's backstory. It gave us more of Anissa and Jefferson working together as a team. The only thing else that really happened, obviously we see more of Peter talking to these people. This one guy is like, we need to get Black Lightning, and pretty much he wants to experiment on him because they want to find out, I guess, why this vaccine caused this, or maybe how to do it more. I don't really know what the plan is, but Jefferson and Anissa do end up finding the guns that were used to kill Lady Eve that they used to frame him, and pretty much that's it for it. They found it, and then this guy shows up and then accidentally blows himself up for some reason. And so now they don't have any proof. So he's still a fugitive from the law. Really don't know how long this is going to last, if they're just going to do it throughout the entire first half of the season, or if they're going to figure out in the next episode that, oh no, Black Lightning actually is a good guy. But pretty much a lot of people are turned against him right now because of the fact that they think he killed Lady Eve. So that's where his story is. The last thing that, I don't know, I'm kind of indifferent about, Lala, he's, like I said, he did come back to life. And the woman, who I didn't know who it was, realized it was LaWanda, the lady he killed. I really don't know what's going on with him. He goes to his club, and these two guys that work for him think he's dead, and so they're just like, hey, what's up, boss? I thought we were just using the stage because we thought you weren't coming back. And then he gets in the back of a car with him, and he's sitting there talking to the ghost of LaWanda, who is now a tattoo on his chest for some reason. But he's talking to her, and she's like, you need to kill these two guys. He's like, nah, you want me to kill these guys? He's saying all this out loud. And the two guys are just like, I'm going to ignore that. Like, the reaction from them didn't seem right. It seemed like they heard him, and you could see them, like, looking back all suspicious, but then they're just like, boss, you alright back there? No, that's not how you would react whenever your boss is talking to a random person that's not there in the back and says, oh, you want me to kill these guys? That's not how you react. You go, did you hear that? Yeah, I heard that. You heard that? Yeah, we both heard that. Maybe we should get rid of him before this gets worse. But no, for some reason they don't. And then all of a sudden we see him taking a shower, and then LaWanda is like in the shower with him. They start making out, and then she's gone. So now apparently she's like, he's seduced by the woman he killed. It is now a tattoo on his chest. Ugh. I hope this gets explained because it's just weird. I have no idea what's going on. But anyway, with all that being said, that's about where this episode leaves off. So now we're moving on to the next one. See you there. And now on to episode 9, the Book of Little Black Lies. Get it? Little black lies instead of white lies because white people suck. No, I'm just kidding. Honestly, I mean, like I said in the last episode, the message that they've been trying to get across has definitely gone away from the whole, like, when you look at the first few episodes, there very much was the sense that, oh, all white people are racist. That's just how it felt like they were going. The only one that didn't act that way was Gamby. Now, it does sort of feel like they've gone away from that message a little bit. Obviously, that one, the cop, I can't remember his name now, but it's the guy that Henderson was talking to at one point, and he was like texting somebody. You could tell he was a bad guy. He is still a bad guy, a dirty cop, and they do manage to, I guess, get enough information to take him down in this episode. But it's not like they're saying, oh, all white cops are just racist and evil. It's just, he does have this little team that he's been using. But they've definitely gone away from that message, and I do appreciate that, because it feels like you do that, you isolate your audience. You can't really, I couldn't watch this show and take it seriously if it's telling me that I'm evil and racist, like that would just, it wouldn't work. So they've done a very good job of toning that down, making it, just a typical, hey, everybody's the same. It doesn't matter the color of your skin, and it doesn't matter, if you are being treated by somebody else horribly, you don't stoop down to their level. You treat them as you would anybody else. You don't necessarily attack them with the same hatred that they're attacking you with. So, with all that being said, this episode, there are a few different stories, and that is definitely the best thing about this show so far. The stories are really doing a good job. There have been a few side stories that, obviously, most of Jennifer's story feels like it's not really connected. But, I mean, the main story and the story with Peter and all of that stuff, I mean, it really feels streamlined. It feels like it's all connected. And that's something that I can't say about some of the other shows I watch. Like, you look at Arrow this season, it feels like there's so many different stories going on. It's just so crowded and, jammed together. I feel like nothing's connected, whereas in this show, everything does feel like it's connected. The secret organization Peter's been working with, they're connected to Greenlight that Jefferson's been trying to take down, and I think Tobias has been trying to get in with this organization because Lady Eve was. So I feel like all of this is connected to whatever secret organization that Peter's talking about. I think I can't remember what the name he gave it was. I'm sure I'll remember it in the next episode. It may take me a little bit, but I'll try to remember. But we do see there are a few different stories. The first one, which I'll talk about, which is still the weakest, is Jennifer's story. She finally finds out in this episode she's not the only one with powers. Anissa tells her that she has powers by lifting her bed up with her super strength, and then tells her that her dad is Black Lightning. And so, of course, now she's freaking out. And I will say it is a genuine reaction. That is one thing that I will say about Jennifer, is that in this episode, yeah, that's probably how a lot of young people would react if they found out that their family had powers and now they had powers. It's kind of like this mixture of fear, betrayal, and, like, scared for the future, I guess. Because obviously the first part, fear, is like, holy crap, everybody around me has powers, what the heck? And then betrayal, finding out that everybody's been lying to you. And then, of course, she talks to her mom about how am I going to be able to live with this? People aren't going to be wanting to be with a freak like me because I have these powers. And of course, she realizes this is why her mom and her dad split up, is because her dad had powers. And so, yeah, it is a very genuine reaction. She's still a little bit bratty in that she's like, oh, well, I'm not like you, Harriet Tubman. I don't want to save the world. That part of her is still very annoying and still just a little too much for me. But, I mean, the rest of it really did feel like it should happen. On top of that, another good thing about this story was whenever, obviously, Jefferson and Lynn find out that Anissa tells her, they're rightfully pissed. But the way that it is handled in this episode is just so much better than most shows would do a family dynamic like this. Most of the time, Lynn just goes straight into mother mode. That is my daughter in there. You told her something without my permission. That is a lack of respect for me. And so you just, not only did you hurt her, but you disrespected me as well. And I will always be your mother. He will always be your father. And I'm just like, that's a genuine mother reaction. Anissa's reaction to it is not the typical, I can't believe you yelled at me, I'm going to go, walking out of the room. No, it's a genuine, look, I didn't realize if I had known this was going to disrespect you, I wouldn't have done it. I felt like she should know. That's why I did this. And they talk about it. Like, I was so shocked. I'm like, holy crap. A family has an issue. They talk about it. It gets resolved. Genius. So, yeah, I mean, it's the first time I've seen a family dynamic like this handled in such a nice way. They talk about the problem. They get it out there in the open. They get it solved. They're still upset, but they solve the problem and they realize they can understand each other. I love that. It was brilliant. So, yeah, that part of it was really well done. The rest of the episode is pretty much just everyone. First I think Lynn talks to her, and then Anissa does, and then finally ends with Jefferson talking to her. And by the end of the episode, she's kind of like, okay, I can at least accept this. It's going to be hard to live with, but I'm going to do my best. So, with all that being said, we move on to more of the main story. And it is mainly focused on this organization that Peter used to work for. And he's definitely growing as a character, in my opinion. Like I said in the last episode, I felt like whenever we find out he has been working for everyone, it kind of does weaken his character a little bit. He doesn't seem like a secret agent anymore. He seems more like, oh, I just did what I had to do to survive. Like a little bit of a weasel. But in this episode, we definitely see he is a good guy. And I think he's trying to make it up to Jefferson now by getting all of this information, doing all of this stuff behind the scenes, because he feels like he needs to make up for it. He needs to do something to help. And so I do appreciate that. I appreciate what he's doing for him, and it is helping his character grow as well and sort of redeeming his character. So we see him, working behind the scenes, very clever little things, threatens this one guy, gets information about another guy, hacks into him, even though the guy's using like a voice scrambler and all this stuff, hacks into his webcam, gets his information, freaks the guy out, and gets the information to, I guess, where Tobias is holed up. It looked kind of like where Tobias was earlier, I think. Or no, maybe it was where Tobias went to meet with someone. Either way, he puts down a video camera, sees what's around, and sees all of these like bodies in these chambers of some sort. And one of them is a boy that he recognized. I will say it's a little bit strange that he managed to recognize him from what looks like 20-something years ago, because he looks a lot younger in the flashback. And he sees this one kid playing basketball and then jumps all the way across the court and dunks it. And I'm just like, you recognize him this in the future? Like this far in the future? Seemed a little bit strange. But he does get this information to Anissa as well as a new suit for her as well. So we see that she's got a suit. And then we see Jefferson and Anissa are still trying to figure out how to clear his name. He calls Detective Henderson and tells him, I can't believe you just sent this information to some random cop. There are dirty cops in your precinct. Why would you give it to somebody else? Talking about the guy that went and got himself killed in the end of last episode. And, pretty much Henderson in this moment says, you know what, all right, I'm going to look into it. I have a few vacation days. I'll check it out. And what's interesting to me is, for most of this episode, he's still the same old bland Damon Gupton, because it's like he can't find a way to emote for some reason. But in this one scene where he's talking to him about going to check into, some of the other cops that he suspects, he actually emotes for a second, and he does look like he has an emotion on his face. Because he's like talking about how he's going to check into this and he's like, look, if I end up dead somewhere, could you just make sure that my family knows that I'm not a dirty cop? That's not who I am. And I'm just like, okay, you can emote, you can do it. So why haven't you been doing it the rest of this season? And even later on in the episode, he shows up, saves Black Lightning's life. He's like, you're welcome. I've got this guy for you. And I'm just like, there's no emotion anymore. Where did the emotion go? You just I don't understand. I don't understand how he keeps getting work, or if this is a director thing or if this is just a him thing. I don't know what's going on. But for whatever reason, he can't find a way to emote all the time. But yeah, as we see, Black Lightning and Anissa manage to track down this little deal going on. And then they track him to this warehouse where apparently they've been experimenting on humans, doing the whole green light thing. And then that's when everybody sort of comes together, a little action scene, which was pretty fun. These guys who have Black Lightning guns that can apparently affect him, one of them manages to get a shot off that like shuts down his suit for a second, but then Anissa knocks him out. The other guy goes to shoot her, but then all of a sudden Black Lightning has his powers back and then tosses him across the room. I don't know how that works. Like, did it just disable it for a few seconds and then he managed to get it back on, or what? They didn't really explain these Black Lightning weapons very well. We just hear that, oh, these are guns that can affect Black Lightning. We don't know how they work. We don't know what they're supposed to do. We don't even know, like, where they got them. Well, kind of know where they got them from. But yeah, I mean, they get these weapons. We talk about them for a few seconds, and then they have them in the warehouse. One of them gets a shot off, and then that's it. Nothing else really happens. They get knocked out, and I guess the one thing that we can take from this is, oh, there are guns that can affect him now. I mean, now we've got to worry about that. He can't just be like taking shots all over. So that's the only thing that I guess is going to come out of that, but it didn't feel like it really affected anything in this episode. But then, they end with a cliche walking away from an explosion without looking at it, and so that's pretty much where this episode ends. So yeah, that's all for this one. Now on to the next one. See you there. Next up, episode 10, Sins of the Father, the Book of Redemption. So this one, once again, continues a lot of these stories. And I will say, I mean, once again, the writing is just, it's very well streamlined. It's not something where it's like, okay, we go focus on this one episode, and then we go over here and focus on this one. No, it feels like every episode, continual progression, flowing narrative. It does a really good job of it. So, first of all, we'll talk about Jennifer again, just because she's still the one that I know, I talked about it 2 episodes ago. Talked about how I felt like it was a lazy writing trick. Oh, we don't know what to do with Jennifer, so we'll just give her powers. Still how it feels, but they are actually making her a bit more interesting by, giving us what her powers are. We are learning a bit more about them, so it's not quite what I was expecting, where she's pretty much just going to be like a little Black Lightning. It's actually, she's almost the opposite. And I feel like you combine these two together and it really could make like an unstoppable force, because where Jefferson is able to drain energy from other other electrical outlets and then put it elsewhere, she actually emits this energy. And so I feel like that's going to be useful later, where she's going to be she's just going to be out there in the field. It's almost going to be like, I'm running out of power. It sucks her power and then spits it back out. If she's able to just emit it, she could like zap him and give him more ability or more power, and then he could use that to zap other people. At least that's how I imagine it. I don't know if that's how it's actually going to work, but it's pretty much just like an unlimited supply of energy that he could just constantly suck the power from. I don't know if that would affect her in any way, and I doubt they're just going to be like, oh yeah, let's do that, because it might hurt their daughter. But at the same time, that's what it seems like to me. That's what I feel like would happen, but we'll see. But yeah, that's pretty much all that happens with her in this episode. She's still kind of, I don't know, that same old bratty kid from the beginning of the season that I really just can't stand, where one moment she's yelling at her sister, she's all like, I hate you, I don't want to be a part of this, I'm not a hero, Harriet Tubman. And then the next second, she's like, look, I'm sorry for what happened earlier, and I'm sorry for bursting out. I can take anything you throw at me, whatever. So, still frustrated with that. The other thing that I don't really have an opinion on right now is Lala. He's still, I don't know, like he's not really involved with the main story. And yet, I don't know where his story is going. He comes back from the dead. He's seeing LaWanda's ghost following him around, and like he's having this thing with her. I don't know what's going on with that. And then all of a sudden, this one, he sees his cousin that he killed early. I'm pretty sure he killed him. I believe. I don't remember exactly what happened between them, but this is the guy that threatened Anissa at the beginning of the season and then caused Jefferson to become Black Lightning in the very first episode. But now he's seeing him, and yeah, I don't know why. I don't. All of a sudden, he shows up as a tattoo on his chest. Are these tattoos? Are they actually there, or is it something just like the ghosts that he's seeing? Are they tattoos that only he can see, or can other people see them too? But yeah, we're seeing that apparently he has some sort of abilities as well. I'm not really sure what they are, but we see this one guy's trying to pretty much mouth off to him and say, "Look, you're not in charge here. You're just holding it until Tobias comes back, and he's going to take you out of it." So then he rips the guy's ear off, which I will say the guy's acting, the guy who got his ear ripped off, his acting was a little bit like underplayed. If you got your ear ripped off, it would be like ah, 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 and instead it's just like ah, ah, and then that's all that was. I'm like, no, my ear gets ripped off. I'm screaming and like crying continuously, but instead the guy pulls out a gun to try to shoot him, and he just like smacks it out of the way, knocks it up, takes it, and then shoots him. So clearly he's a little bit more, I guess, physically fit, physically capable of fighting than he was before he died. And then on top of that, we see later on the episode, after he does some business with another guy, trying to get a bunch of cocaine to sell, because apparently he's trying to run the business, and he's not trying to sell green light, he wants to sell regular drugs, because he feels like green light is, I guess, too mainstream, I suppose. But he makes a deal with the guy, and then this other guy steps in and says, you're just a poser. You're just here until Tobias comes back. Same thing the other guy was saying. Pulls out a gun, and he's just like slowly walking up to him. And I'm just like, dude, you're just gonna let him walk closer to you? You realize that makes you more vulnerable? And he's like, go ahead, pull the trigger. He pulls it, and the gun misfires. And he's just like, if I ever catch you freeling again, I'll kill you with my own bare hands. The guy runs away as he takes the gun. And so then he tells all of them to do their job, and then his dead cousin is like, how'd you know the gun was going to misfire? And he's just like, I didn't. Puts it in his back pocket, walks away. So I don't, did it misfire because he caused it to misfire? Like his abilities, whatever he's able to do, caused it to misfire? Like what exactly happened there? So I don't know. That was kind of a little bit weird, but I assume we'll get some answers later on. We get to the main story, and we see the main thing that happens in this episode is Gamby gets taken in by the ASA. Finally remember their name. He gets taken in by the agent that we saw last episode, the one that was making the deal with the dirty cop, and is getting questioned because the guy realizes that Gamby infiltrated their system and then told Black Lightning about it. So he realizes he must be working with Black Lightning. Gamby actually does tell the truth in saying that he didn't tell Black Lightning because technically he told Anissa, and I thought maybe that would come into play, but no, they don't believe him. They do realize, wait a minute, he raised Jefferson Pierce, the son of the man that we killed. That seems a little bit strange. Maybe he cares for him like an adopted father. Let's bring him in. So they bring in Jefferson. Jefferson's mentoring this kid. I don't really know why. But yeah, it's just kind of a random side story that doesn't really lead anywhere yet. But they bring him in, and as they get in there, Jefferson does his little Black Lightning powers, shuts off the power. Gamby manages to take some guns and shoot two of the agents, but the main guy gets away again. And this is the second time that he's sort of Batmaned on us, where the lights flicker out, and then all of a sudden he's gone. Like he did in the last episode with the doctor, and then he does it in this episode as well. Does he have this ability? I don't know. It was kind of weird. This random agent is just like lights flicker, and then Peter shoots two guys, and all of a sudden, boom, he's disappeared, and now he's able to tell the assistant principal, which I did find quite interesting. Like the assistant principal is working for them too. Apparently, she has been working for them for a while now, and he's just like, Jefferson Pierce is Black Lightning, because he realized, hey, the power went out when he was in there. That's too coincidental. He must be Black Lightning. So he makes the connection and then asks her, how did you not know this? She's like, there's no way he's Black Lightning. I've known him for years. These two, no, that's not possible. So he's making the connection. She doesn't believe it, but clearly he wants her to step up in her job and make sure that she can take him down. I don't know what to expect with that. But that's pretty much where that leads. We do see that Jefferson does sort of I guess, find it in his heart to care about Peter again, because most of this episode is him saying, "Oh no, I don't trust him. I can't work with him again. I don't trust him." And so by the end of it, he's saving his life, and it kind of feels like, okay, maybe they can make up in the end. They most likely will. I doubt they'll keep them apart for the rest of the season. Um, but aside from that, that's pretty much all that happens in this episode. There is a little. I mean, they're taking new kids now because Nissa does infiltrate their place where they're holding all of these people, and she realizes that they're all still alive in these containers. Still not sure what they're doing, if it has anything to do with green light or if it's something else entirely that they're experimenting on. But yeah, so that's pretty much all that happens in this episode. So that's about it for this one. Moving on to the last of these four. See you guys there. And finally, episode 11, Black Jesus, the Book of Crucifixion. Can't talk for some reason. So this one wraps up a little bit of the stories that have been going on this season, mainly the police side of it. We know, obviously, Deputy Sheriff, I think that's Deputy Director? Deputy something? Kamen, the guy that Henderson's been looking into, he finally gets taken down in this episode. The ASA asks the vice principal to ask him and his assistant to pretty much incriminate Jefferson of having green light, so that way they can take him in, and then when they're going to transfer him, they're going to hit the truck and then take him and test him and find out if he's Black Lightning or not. And so in that case, it is a pretty interesting episode, seeing Jefferson taken down. What are they going to do? How are they going to handle it? They handle it in a very good way, where most of the time it would be like, oh, well, we gotta stop them. We gotta stop them before they hit the truck and, take them away. We gotta make sure that the ASA can't get to them. Instead of that, Peter's first thought is, well, we need to make the ASA think he's not Black Lightning. And I'm going to be honest, whenever I heard that, in my mind, I'm thinking of how it should have ended the YouTube series. I'm thinking if they ever did TV shows, this would be one where they have Peter get, well, we got to think of a way to convince them that they're not Black Lightning. Roy Harper, what do you think about that? Then just see Roy go, I know what I got to do. I don't know why. For some reason, that's what I thought about in my mind. I thought about, doing that on Arrow, how they had Roy pretend to be the Hood. But anyway, what they do end up coming up with is actually pretty clever. They have Anissa go out, and Peter puts this thing on her that creates a hologram of Black Lightning, and so they're trying to take down this truck for some reason that Peter's controlling as well. And so they have the two of them running down the street with a ton of people like, woo, yeah, go Black Lightning. And so that manages to convince them, okay, so he can't be in two places at once, right? So that's probably not him. And so it manages to get them off of his trail for now. But we do see that I think they're kind of hesitant to really say that right yet, because the vice principal, she's contacted him on the computer and requests him to be released. And they said, do your job. And it's not your job to deal with all this stuff. Your job is to facilitate, that's all. So clearly, I think they're reluctant to say it, but I think they are admitting, okay, it's not him for now, but kind of telling her, you stick to what you're supposed to do, don't get involved in this. So I do think there's that side of her that does respect Jefferson enough to where she doesn't really believe he is Black Lightning, but I still hate her for what she's doing, she's just totally backstabbing him and helping the ASA in the process. She already wasn't a great character because of how she handled some of the stuff earlier in the season, but now I'm just like, oh, you're evil? Well, now I hate you even more. But with all that being said, that's pretty much all that happens there. We do see a little bit whenever he's being taken in. We see some of the students stepping up for him. Both of his daughters, of course, try to step in and say stuff and stop the police. Jennifer, at first she's like clenching her fists, ready to fight, and of course he tells her, "Look, calm down," trying to get her to not use her powers because he knows if she does, the ASA will instantly be on her. But then Anissa runs in and she's like, ready to hit the cop, and I'm like, "Are you stupid? Really, you're gonna get yourself arrested for this? What are you, an idiot?" So she's still got that side of her that just reacts impulsively instead of really thinking things through. And that is a side of her that's going to end up getting her hurt in the end. So I find that very strange that she's still reacting like that whenever her dad has kind of instructed her not to. So he gets taken in, and of course, all the stuff that comes off of that. You got everybody accusing him. I will say I was a little bit disappointed because once again this show has shown us it's not just all white people are racist and all the white people are working against the black people in the show. They show there's this one, these two cops that are taking him in. One's white, one's black, and they're both abusing him. So the race of it doesn't really make a difference. But then they cut to this TV clip and they show these two black people. Oh, there's no way it can possibly be him. He's too good a man. Then this one old white lady. Oh, they call him Black Jesus in that school. Black Jesus. Can you believe that? I mean, it's no wonder a man who has his kids call him that. It's no wonder he could do stuff like... Okay, make your decision, show. Are you going to be racist against white people or are you not? You can't have both. You can't show all of these people that are clearly over the top and be just, middle of the ground on some of it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I realize there are people like that out there. I understand that. But it's like the show wants to have it both ways. It wants to be the middle of the ground, compromising, realizing, okay, there are good people and bad people out there, on no matter the color of their skin. But then it wants to have moments like this too, where it's just like, oh, these black people obviously, I mean, they understand he's a good man, he wouldn't do this, and this one old white lady who has no idea what's going on, just judging him because, the people of the city call him Black Jesus. She's judging him because of that. You can't have both. If you want to do one, not the other, that's fine. You can't do both, though, because then it just gets a confused message. So anyway, with that being said, though, that was the one thing in this episode that they did throw in, so it's not like it was the entire episode. It just, that one moment had me kind of face-palming. But that's pretty much all of what happens in this episode. We don't really see much of the ASA. We don't see any of Lala either in this one. And surprisingly, we haven't seen any of Tobias in any of these 4 episodes that I watched. So I guess he's kind of off to the side for now, and then he's going to show up in the last couple. I want to say, I was watching some of the commercials on the app, and I think one of them said there are only 2 episodes left. So I guess he'll show up for the last 2, maybe. I don't know where he's been, why he's been out of town. The ASA, they're doing their thing as well, so they kind of stepped in as the bad guy for the moment. But I do find it weird because I don't know if we ever really got a notice as to why Tobias left. If we did, I don't remember it. So that's kind of strange to me, but whatever the case, that's all for these 4 episodes. So overall, I mean, it was really, really enjoyable. Yes, I did have issues with, with Jennifer and her story popping up, with some of the couple of moments where they decided to be racist against white people. That it is a little bit frustrating, but it's not nearly as bad as I thought it was going to be when I watched the first episode. When I watched that first episode, my thoughts were, oh gosh, this is going to be one of those, power to all black people and, white people are the devil. I thought it was going to be like that, but honestly, it hasn't been. It's really been very fair. They've even had a few moments of clarity where it's like you can't, even if there are racists out there, you can't attack them with the same hate they're attacking you. I love that message because that really is how it should be. There are a bunch of idiots out there. There are a bunch of idiots that discriminate based on gender, on race, on whatever. To go back against those people with the same hate and vile that they're spewing, it makes you no better than they are. And they are trying to show that in some circumstances. So I'm glad that they do have those messages in there because that is what our world needs. We're so divided and so hateful against each other when realistically we should all be working together to try to make our country a better place. So with all that being said, that's, I guess, it for these 4 episodes. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts of these 4? Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Blacklight interviews, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.